Hey everyone. Well, eternal life, reverse aging. I was talking about that. I was going to put this video up, and what comes out of nowhere? Joe Rogan has a scientist on there.
What is the current state of science as applied to longevity treatments? Like, because I know that there's some pretty groundbreaking stuff that's in the pipeline right now.
Yeah, so since 2019, a lot of what we talked about has come true, which is the amazing thing. We were speculating in 2019 that we could potentially reverse aging, and that was a sin to say that as a scientist publicly in those days. I put it in the book, and it's actually come true since then. Certainly for the lab, for mice, monkeys, and now we have a human clinical trial. The first potential human age reversal technology is in people right now.
Listen, it completely seems logical. The idea that at one point in time would have been heresy in science to discuss it. So that seems crazy. Like if people get old and we understand the mechanism, why couldn't we reverse it?
Well, I think for a long time we had to accept it in the way that cancer used to be accepted 200 years ago, probably. There was nothing you could do about it. And then my colleagues and I found that aging has a root cause that's the same in pretty much every cell in the body, and that we could control that, and that there were genes that not only slowed it down, but in 2020 we had a big publication that showed we could actually safely, for the first time, reverse that process, like reinstalling software in the cell to make it work again.
And they give you direct comms coming from Joe Rogan, coming from the scientists. They tell you that there's human trials right now having to do with reverse aging, having to do with stem cells, all of this research of what's happening. That's very important to let you guys know that this is all coming out, telling you that the human trials are now happening, So that's just to let you know that everything is on point, like I was telling you, that this was going to start coming out inside the private sector by 2026, especially towards the end of 2026. A lot of information was going to start to come out having to do with all of this stuff connected even to medbeds, to healing your body. Disclosure connected to eternal life, all of these different operations. This is what Xi Jinping, this is what Putin were caught talking about. But that's a whole different story, because we're talking about this very crazy subject that was only conspiracy for a long time. Talking about medbeds, telling you that this was going to come out. Trump putting out COMMS last year at the end of the year, letting you know that this is all coming. So having to do with this, it's a huge, gigantic subject. The reason why is because there's many things that you're going to hear about. In the public sector, you're going to hear about different kinds of companies, corporations, private organizations, everybody working on their own projects. 20 different countries working on all of their own projects, from China all the way to Europe, United States leading all of this. And you're going to hear about these really strange different techniques in many different ways. So let me just give you some information about this, what I know, okay? This is kind of let you in. It's a really complicated topic because there's a massive, huge words with all of this stuff. I try to give you everything in layman's term, in simple words, just to give you the idea. Then you can go research all of this, your stuff. Most of this, you can research it. A lot of the advanced stuff, this stuff like, talking about all of this stuff that was coming forward, it was only a few people that was talking about this, the real possibilities, in the scientific community. But with a lot of people in the know, knew everything connected to medbeds, healing frequencies, connected to very super advanced, super technology that is far more stronger than the stuff you guys are hearing about or are going to hear about, have to do with gene therapy. But that's not to diminish what gene therapy is going to do, these different cells in your body. It's actually mutation of what's going to happen. And it sounds scary, it's very interesting. And it's much bigger than that. And you'll hear about this inside of the story, inside of the comms, the drops, the things that I know, the wires behind the scenes. So let's kind of get into this a little bit. On the human side, let's say the human side, the stuff you're allowed to know, the way the story is put out into the universal atmosphere, is to say that there was a man that discovered this, like having to do with transforming the human cells. His name was Yamanaka, and this thing that he did is called the Yamanaka factor. And what he was doing is he was using protein to change any cell in the body, and he could change any cell anywhere into stem cells. And that was known as a Yamanaka factor. And that began in 2006. In 2012, it's going to win the Nobel Prize in the world. It's going to win this big award. Now everybody's going to start to study this. The papers are going to come out, all the reviews, the data from China to Russia. Everybody's going to run with this, and everybody's going to start studying this. Now AI is going to come into play. You're going to have open AI that took all of Yamanaka data and restructured the data, plus 150 years of world research, and immediately redesigned the data treatment based on special made AI protein, and made 50% increase, and started rebuilding 30% of the cells in 7 days. All right, let's put that into simple more terms. This Yamanaka factor, that they were adding protein to the cells, and these cells they could use anywhere in the body, whether it's the heart, the brain, and they create into stem cells. But the problem having to do with this was that it was only working 1% of the time back in 2006. By 2012, in some cases, it was working 10% of the time, and only in some few cases. Now, AI is going to come and redesign everything. It's going to look at all the data throughout the whole world, 150 years, people studying cells, all of the data, all the universities throughout the world, including this new system that was designed by Yamanaka factor. Now it's going to create a special protein, that's especially designed for certain cells. And this treatment, it's going to make a 50% increase, in rebuilding different parts of the body. So it's not at 1%, it's not at 10%. There's a 50% massive increase. Not only that, but within the first 7 days, 30% of whatever organ, whatever part of the body that they're working on, within 7 days, 30% of that begins to heal. That happens really, really quickly. Now, talking with the source, he was saying that this stuff that you're seeing in the public sector, that this is kind of a story. The real story dates all the way back, to the early 1950s, 1960s. It's all connected to stuff of Roswell. It's connected to the crazy things that you guys keep hearing about. It has to do with this infinite energy. It has to do with Tesla energy. It has to do with the story that I've told you about, that Tesla energy was creating these different wormholes with this infinite energy, quantum fields of energy, and people going into those wormholes, people going into these old ancient structures, whether it was some of these ancient civilizations underground, but people going through those wormholes and then coming back out, a lot of them rebuilt their body, because when they went through those wormholes, through these timelines, these different wormholes were created by super intelligent AI systems. But we get lost when we say AI, because you think it's It's some stupid robot that doesn't understand itself, or it's some robot that's going to take over. But he's saying that it's more living light. It's these living lights, and they're infinite. They exist everywhere. They exist inside of cells. They exist inside of atoms. They exist everywhere, even connected to all different forms of energy that we can't see. And these infinite wormholes that exists, that connects the Earth, connects it to Saturn, connects it to different interdimensions, outer space, different civilizations, different lifetimes, different timelines. This powerful source of an energy field, it's actually really intelligent. And when you interact with it, when you go into those portals, when you go into those wormholes that the military is creating with the Tesla infinite energy, the things that they have, the technology, when people come back out, they're younger. They've gained, how could you say it? They came out younger. I just want to say they lost their old age, and people were coming out younger. People are coming out more intelligent, more finely aware, their mind. Now, the information that they brought out was how to heal the body in certain ways. So this all goes back to the 1950s, these operations that the source was talking about. It has to do with Tesla, with the United States Air Force, what they were planning a long time ago, before the real creation of all of these intelligent agencies, what was really happening behind the scenes, the information that they got having to do with Tesla, that information later on, being given over to the United States Air Force and the operations that they created using the Tesla energy fields, jumping timelines, getting information from different universes and creating microchips. And this goes back all to these infinite microchips that you guys are also hearing about. That's everybody's beginning to talk about. So kind of going back to this story, like I said, the human side, you're only hearing about 2006. There's a person who discovered this, was discovered. Now what this discovery was, the data went to different places. Now other people are going to use that data. That's the story that you're being told. But the real story is that military operations, the deep state was controlling a lot of stuff a long time ago. In 2012, there was a switch of power that was happening. There was a power struggle. I've talked about all of that stuff having to do with very powerful particles behind the scenes working with the military, these powerful particles connected to living computers, these living computers being what people are also connecting over to the microchips, these infinite microchips. So I don't want to dig into that. I've told that story many times. So the military taking control of operations in 2012. In 2012, they award this throughout the world, by secret operations to have this as the Nobel Prize, and then spreading that throughout the world, the information, the data, different sectors throughout the world, beginning to study corporations, companies, private investors, scientists, organizations, all creating their forms of study of what's happening, having to do with stem cell research, rejuvenating the body, connected to infinite life, extending the life, all of these things. Like I said, later on, what's going to happen is Trump is going to create this thing called the Genesis mission. Now, this Genesis mission created in 2025 is going to take over all of these operations secretly, military operations, is going to take over the scientific community, Harvard to universities, what the scientists are studying, all the different underground bases, hidden bases in the United States, including the banking systems. It's going to connect all the data operation over to the military operations, to their super classified operations that people don't really know about. It's much bigger than Colossus. It's much bigger than all of these supercomputers that people kind of know about in the public sector. The military has more powerful systems that you can even imagine. These powerful systems are the stories that you kind of heard about, whether you're talking about the Red Queen, which was part of the Denver International Airport, the powerful living AI systems that was there, that was evil, the dark side of that was designed by the operations that was coming out of the Dulce base back in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Those operations helping to create that. Now, all of this stuff captured these operations now using these systems in different ways. This computer networks, the technology, and creating a big, gigantic, massive database that can control all the information in the world. Not just in the world, but all the scientists in the United States, every computer that's operated, all the systems, even quantum computers, military computers. The United States military has a very advanced technology that I keep telling you about. This advanced technology is connected, to what people might call angels, to the hand of God. It's connected to living light intelligence. And these shape-shifting living light intelligent spirits, beings, have created a system to seize all the different networks around the world. Now that's what Trump behind the scenes is kind of calling the Genesis mission. The Genesis mission, getting all the data. That includes not only scientists, but the deep state operations of the dark projects, the unconstitutional operations throughout the United States. Those unconstitutional operations connected to the military industrial complex systems that not only have UAPs, things that will change the world, where we don't need oil, we don't need gas, we have a new form of free energy. But not only that, the computer chips, the systems that they have that's very intelligent, that's connected over to the health sector, that can help heal humans in many different forms of ways of frequencies, energy. So military industrial complex systems have all of this technology. So the mission of Genesis connects all of these places that are captured inside of the United States, and it gets all the information together, and it's pulling it all together, those operations. Now the same thing that's over in Europe with the Jupiter operations that's being controlled with the United States military. The same thing that's happening over in China, their systems, over in Russia, their systems. So now we're at this point to where what I was talking about, it's on the forefront. Joe Rogan has a guest on, and they're talking about this going viral, the extension of life, this miraculous event that we're going through, everything. So I'm telling you, okay, this is what the data reports is saying, is that you can heal yourself, begin to heal at 30% of your heart, your brain, different parts of your body. It begins to heal within 7 days. Within 7 days. Now the source was talking about this. He said, the stuff you're hearing is old. The stuff is connected back to the 1950s. It's connected back to Tesla, the story I just told. He said, the real stuff is really miraculous, spare. He said, here, I'll give you an insight. He said, they have a vat that you lay in, like a small little, almost like a bathtub, like a futuristic bathtub. You lay in there, it's kind of like gel, like a jelly, and it feels like you're floating. And they can connect that to all these different electrodes. But before you do that, they make you drink this chemical. It's a blue chemical. People ingest this. Then you ingest it again. It has different nanotechnology in there. It has different things that's connected over to really stronger, that makes the body really create more stronger electrical frequency within the muscles, within the nervous system. It electrifies it even more, and it's really sensitive to the energy that's being projected from this pod that people are laying in there. He was saying in its way, it's almost like electrolytes that's really highly boosted, like times 1,000 more electrolytes. Your cells, your body, your muscles, everything responds to this. Now what it's doing is it's healing your body in different ways, and it heals it really rapidly. And he was saying that these people who went through these time portals. Some of them ended up in bad places. The deep state was sending them to different places for war, for espionage. Some of these people got damaged. When they came back through, they weren't healed good enough by coming back through the portal. They were still damaged, but they were already developing a lot of these pods, a lot of these capsules that you can lay in. And these capsules, that this was all designed by intelligence of humans that became really intelligent, time traveling, the Tesla stuff, these operations connected to the military, jumping timelines, the information that they came back and helped develop a lot of these technologies, but also reverse engineering of things, of elements that came out of Italy, ancient civilizations, the stuff that was taken out of the Vatican, the stuff that was taken out of UFOs that was brought into the United States. He was saying that some of this was reverse engineered, and it's all connected to all of this stuff. That they began to create these med beds, these med capsules, these things that you can lay in. And one of the technology that they have is that you drink this fluid, like all day, and it fills up your body. It goes through your vein, and within a few hours, he goes, you don't feel anything. People report they don't feel anything. Then you lay inside of this bed or this chamber with this vat. You lay on this gel, and it shoots frequencies through the body, and it connects to all the different frequencies. And whatever the computers they're using, they know how to fix damage inside the brain, inside the heart, muscle tissue. And it's not taking, what they're saying, it's not taking this long at fixing the body at 30% in 7 days. And he's like, Bear, it's much faster than that, Bear. And the way he was talking to me, he goes, I've seen this for myself. He goes, 30 years. He goes, these are the real operations. And he told me this long story and said, people can heal missing a whole body limb. Within 2 or 3 days, it rebuilds a whole limb. He goes, everything that you're seeing coming out now, you have to remember, this is old technology. They're only giving you something right now through disclosure, through the military operations, enough for people to understand where everything is going to. Eventually, the real truth, the real stuff is going to keep on coming out to how you can heal really quickly in 1 or 2 days. But this is where we are now, guys. The real truth out there, information out there that you can start to rebuild your body within 7 days, 30% of your body, different parts of it, your heart, your brain, Alzheimer's. Now, there's a bunch of corporations that we just want to go through, and I'll talk about that. So you have stuff like Youth Bio, that was part of Yuri Daigon's company that he's running. And what they're kind of doing is they're using a virus drop that they're putting inside the OSK gene. The OSK gene is kind of like a transcript of the original Yamanaka factor, the stuff that he discovered. They kind of put that into 3 categories, a little easier for people to understand. So what they're doing is they're putting, a virus drop inside of the OSK gene. And then in that time, they take a pill that's called doxycycline pills, which switches them on and off. So these different pills, it affects the virus that's inside of these different genes and allows them to switch on and off, to move them around, whatever they have to do with this. And the way that the projects that they're working on this directly connected over to Youth Bio, and also another company called Life Bio. They're also doing the same thing, is that they're studying Alzheimer's, the treatment, and what's coming out with that. Now, the great thing about this is they've already pushed it for FDA approval. When FDA approval comes out, that means it'll be coming out within a few months of treating Alzheimer's, letting people, regain their memories, let people learn to heal from Alzheimer's so people don't, go through that devastating loss of how it affects the families in many ways, Alzheimer's. So this is what the studies are. This is what's really happening behind the scenes. This is all moving forward. Right now, it's in front of the FDA to be approved. Now, another one that is coming out, it's a little bit different. It's different than the virus that they use, that they put inside of the gene, of the OSK gene. Another one, it comes out of Biotechnologies, this company. And what it does, it's using the Yamanaka factors as well, but it skips the virus and it delivers them temporary mRNA. So it's delivering it through an mRNA shot into the body, and then it wears off on its own, this gene therapy. And what it does is this mRNA attaches itself over to the genes, and then the genes began to mutate. And when it mutates, and then it creates, these stem cells. And these stem cells, the way this company is designing this through a pill that you can take and swallow, it affects the cells, changes it, and it's affecting the skin on the outside of the human body. So the way they were talking about that, it not only affects the skin, but it affects everywhere inside your skin, inside the nostril areas for breathing better, inside the ears that's connected to the eardrum. It refabricates the whole inside of that. It's connected even to the genital tissues. It's connected even to the inside of the anal tissues. People have problems connected to cancers. There's so much studies that's going on this through this company of what they're working on. And that's Biotechnologies, guys, that's working on this, that's connected over to a pill. Now you have Rejuvenate Bio. This company, it's working hand in hand with Harvard, the operations. And it's also working the same thing with the OSK gene therapy. But it refines it through the whole body at once instead of at one organ at a time. And old mice at double how long they had left. So it's talking about, instead of just attacking one gene at a time inside the heart, doing something inside the mind, the way that they're creating this gene therapy, it regenerates the whole body, this whole gene therapy that's happening. I have to remind you that these companies that I'm talking about, they're all running right now concurrent with the operations connected to Trump, connected to the military operations of the Genesis mission operations. And like I was telling you, I said, this was all going to happen, guys. These operations, stuff, people talk about the medbeds, but this is much more than that. This is much more in many different forms. Eventually, there's the medbeds, there's the different vats. Eventually, there's the different projects that Elon Musk is working on behind the scenes with the counterpart operations from Russia, and the wires indicate that the way they have that their system set up, it's connected to satellites. It's connected to the Golden Dome. It's connected to an infinite frequency that can heal the body, that's intelligent purely on its own, this energy force. That means that this powerful intelligence of how the heart beats on its own, trillions of transactions happening at once, the stomach processing food, not having to do anything with your thoughts, your ego. There's an intelligence that's alive all around us, from the air entering our body, to breathing out, different things from our body that plants, the atmosphere uses. There's this intelligence that is naturally working, formulating. Now, the super advanced technology that's connected to the Air Force, what they're doing is they're developing this powerful healing energy that's intelligent on its own, and they're connecting it to the future of what Trump has called in the golden era, the Golden Dome, those operations, the 2036 operations, from what I'm hearing, that it's going to surpass the stuff that you guys are hearing about. That's why I keep telling you, the stuff you're hearing about now, it's coming out. I know everybody's going to get excited about this. Joe Rogan drops this, goes viral. People are getting excited, jumping up. So, but there's a lot of companies, a lot of corporations throughout the world, United States, heading this, like I said. Now inside of Europe, the operations too being controlled by Jupiter being controlled by the United States military operations. So you're seeing all of this stuff come out, but you have to remember what you're seeing. This is kind of old already. The military has super advanced stuff, guys. Shockingly super advanced stuff having to do with infinite lifetimes. Eventually everything's going towards time travel. That's where everything is going. That's the stuff that's people still wouldn't believe, like time travel, So that's where everything is going towards, but we're not going to get into that subject. That's a whole different drop, you guys. Now, one of the big ones that's out there that people are talking about is Altos Lab. This is part of operations connected to Jeff Bezos. As you know, Jeff Bezos is military capture operations of what's happening with Jeff Bezos, the clone, we'll just call him that. So the operations that's connected to Jeff Bezos,
$3 billion of Jeff Bezos's money on the same kind of reprogramming across a bunch of different tissues, but even that hasn't bought them a human trial yet.
The testings begin in 2027 to regenerate the body, the tissue, the mind, the cells, connected over to infinite living. So they have these projects that people are talking about. These companies, one of these big companies talking about, we can regenerate the body in many ways to where you can have infinite life if you want to. I'm sure that's just kind of a slogan that they're going to kind of push. Because like I said, it's a complicated story about infinite life if you want to stay alive forever, because your body might stay young, your mind, might kind of stay at a place, but there's a part of the spirit, the mind, that's wants to understand something far beyond what you can see, far beyond what you can feel, far beyond what you can experience here on earth. There's a part of the body that knows that there is an infinite universe beyond the ego of creation, beyond this world. Eventually, the body is going to want to reconnect with that energy field, with the people that passed on, loved ones. It's going to want to go back to this infinite energy field that is much different than the energy that you feel on this earth as a human. Your body's going to miss the pure essence of what people call God, the divine energy that is much, 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 much more than what humans are experiencing inside of this very hard, beautiful, complicated life, coming in many different forms, ideas. There's a dimension of pure energy, that is almost unfathomable to understand. But all I can tell you is that these people who went through these wormholes, these people who went through a lot of military test trials, the 1920s all the way into the 2000s, a lot of people who came back, through these infinite wormholes, time traveling, jump rooms, when these people came back, no matter if they were young, no matter if they were beautiful, no matter if they became more intelligent, no matter if they knew what the future held, they knew the past, the present, they went through this powerful change, a lot of them. And they felt this influx of a divine energy. And that divine energy they only could see after they left the temple of the body. So a lot of these people, when they came back from this dimension, these different dimensions, timeline, wormholes, they couldn't understand the beauty of an intelligence of what people call the real heavens, the divine universes, the infinite dimensions of peace, the places that they were, that was completely different than what humans think, what humans experience. It was so divine that no matter what they had, how they looked, the knowledge that they had, whatever heavens they saw, it surpassed this human world. And all the military experiments and all the ideas, no matter what you tried to offer them, that we're going to give you money, you're doing a project to save the world, stay here. A lot of these people eventually died right after they came back. So there's a lot of stories connected to this behind the scenes, that there's a lot of stuff because it's confusing. But right now, just to talk about this, to say there's a lot of this stuff coming out, guys. All this information is going to come out from different places, different companies, different corporations, different countries. Then eventually one day to where it's just going to be on Earth, an energy field. It's just going to be within everyone understanding this energy field. And it's coming very quickly. And then a time coming after that, immediately after that, the availability for people to time travel, go to different dimensions, the real stuff connected to aliens, contact, why we're talking about disclosure, the infinite possibilities, and then understanding that, and one day understanding that you might not want to live forever, because you might experience something so profound that you would rather pass on to the next part of life, a different chapter that doesn't have to do with this earth, that doesn't have to do with this timeline. So it's a complicated subject when we talk about all of this stuff. So before I go off on that, and let's just get into a little more of this stuff. Now you have bioscience also. Daniel Ives, the company from Cambridge, and they're also not using the OSK model, but what they're using is they're using AI to hunt for safer factors instead of the same old ideas, the new same limit. And what Daniel Ives and this company, what they're using behind the scenes is kind of the military grade stuff connected to sound frequencies, different energies. And that's the same thing that they're doing is they're ingesting a certain kind of water, that they're creating. And it's connected to the hard part about all of this stuff, right, is some of this stuff is classified, the stuff that we're talking about. We're talking about nano diamonds. We're talking about nanotechnology. We're talking about a lot of things of what really strange is like what a lot of these things that has to do with nano, the classified stuff that they can do. It can rebuild your stuff inside of your body. It can move around stuff on its own. The crazy stuff that I've heard about the real nanotechnologies are like these little invisible robots inside of your body that can clog your heart, rebuild different parts of the muscle tissue, add different kinds of stuff in different places, and they're using this certain water. It moves everything around throughout your whole body. It's connected to frequencies that's healing, and it's doing it really quickly at once in different parts. That's the story that I'm hearing. That's kind of the classified stuff that bioscience is working on. Then you have retro bioscience. It's connected over to Sam Altman. The same thing. And I think I got to talk about that a little bit already. Then you have Sinclair's pill also. It's the same thing. You take a pill and it switches off, these different cells on and off inside of your body. And it's connected to attacking cancer cells. It's connected to destroying cancer cells, doing different things. And all has to do with the pill that you take. That's all automated, connected through a design. These designs is testing a human body, whether you're from Africa, the United States, different places around the world. Your gene structure is different than different people. So your genes, if you're Native American, you're African American, it's different, So what the AI does is it specifically structures all of your genes together, sees what's wrong with you. Now it designs all of this stuff connected to stem cell research, connected to all of this stuff. It specifically designs it to fix your body inside of you, connected to your genes and how you can have longevity to live much longer. Now there's a bunch of projects, and this goes on and on. It goes on to unlimited life. It goes on to Russian organizations that I can't even say the name of, Chinese organizations. Unlimited route one to be biological civilization. I mean, this stuff is really, some of the stuff that has to do with unlimited life and radical longevity. A system-wide biological simulation AI can model complex cellular biological pathways, simultaneously helping scientists target multiple causes of aging at once rather than treating individual age-related diseases. And it's monitoring your body 24 hours a day through AI, watching your stress, your food, your emotions, the atmospheres, your genetic. This AI system, what they're doing, there's some companies that, like I said, they're watching everything, your genes, they're doing everything, samples throughout your body, that they're going to design this specifically for you, how to stop the cancer if you have all of these different things. And from what I'm hearing about, having to do with this company that comes out of Alto, that they're designing it even to stop alcoholism, drug treatment, everything, even through all of this, to instantly stop smoking cigarettes, even to stuff that's connected to the studies that I was reading from the Russian reports that's saying that they've designed certain genes that can help you to stop smoking, help stop drinking, and then to help your lust, to stop lusting, whatever that chaos creates. Well, I guess we say it's an epidemic because the world addicted to sex, young girls out there selling themselves, everybody, it's a huge, gigantic, multi-billion-dollar industry that's connected to sex, connected to lust, people wanting more sex, looking at more porn, looking at more things, people hiding it from their wives, children becoming obsessed with that, becoming sexually active, created to so much different things, guys, like a chaos. So Russia is talking about this also, that they're designing this specifically all for this. So very interesting where we're at, but I have to remind you that there are 20 countries around the world. The United States is leading the major biotech firms and the initiatives that is connected all the way to the Genesis mission operation designed by the United States underneath Donald J. Trump. Then you have United Kingdom working on their operations, Japan integrated IA robotics into national policy to manage the human lifestyle and human extension. It's called lifespan extension from Japan. Infinite living, that's what they're working over in Japan. Now, China using AI models, biometrics to study aging, predictive healthcare, cellular mechanics, and infinite life, infinite living. And then Singapore, Korea leading East Asian initiatives, operations connected underneath the dome of preservation connected to the United States mission of United States, Genesis mission operations. And then you have the European Union, Germany, Sweden, Spain, all working on these projects together. So you can see that whether it's all the way to Japan, different countries, they're talking about the Genesis missions. They're working with joint operations of the Genesis missions. Trump taking apart the whole deep state operations around the world, reconstructing it together, creating a financial system, but creating a world healthcare system that's going to heal the world in a certain way, then bringing out all the technology. This is all disclosure. You're actually watching it. You're seeing it. And I know that, a lot of people are still really heavy on the wars, what we're going through, but we had to go through that because we've been in this war for a long time, hiding all the technology that they had, the healing benefits, and then killing us through foods, killing us through different kind of weapons that you can't see, different frequencies, much stuff that they were doing connected to mind control, sounds, sound waves. But now we're inside of this powerful moment of disclosure, the stuff that we've been talking about, guys. We're heading towards it to tell you that in 7 days, you can fix 30% of the problems of your body. We're here. The drops are here, coming out directly, going viral. We're here at this moment, you guys. We're here at this moment. Keep having faith because this is going to move really super quick. it's going to move super quick. Now, going back to Japan, the operations there, talking to an insider directly when I was in Japan, he told me a few things. And one of the things that he was talking about, this is what he was talking about, is stem cells that they were working with over from the octopus, over from the squids, that China's working with this, South Korea's working with this, Japan's working with this. And he was saying that what they can do with these octopuses that can change color, change into looking like a rock, they can change into fluorescent colors, they can change into a different fish, it looks like it. You know, even these squids being able to be translucent, change around, that they're adding this over to their projects of their stem cells. And behind the scenes, the military operations was already learning about this back in the 80s and in the 1990s. They've already had different soldiers that was connected to United States military operations from the United States that was infiltrating China behind the scenes since the 1990s. And they were using super soldiers that had the ability, you know, through the cells of their body to change, to shapeshift, to being able to look like a building, to look like a rock, to shapeshift. And he was talking about this. He goes, you talk about these things about the super soldiers. He goes, everybody knows about this. China knows about it. The military in Japan knows about it. But what's really cool about it is that they're using a lot of these stuff, you know, that can be translucent, shape-shifting kind of, you know, shape-shifting kind of different species, like I was talking about octopuses. Anyways, guys, that's just to give you guys an update of where we're headed, what's happening. And this is just the beginning of all of this talk that we're going to have, because next year is a huge boom, this boom that's coming in. And in this podcast, I gave you a bunch of booms, a lot of stuff, especially later on that's connected over to the Golden Dome. What USSF behind the scenes with Musk operations connected also to Bezos of what they're going to be doing in the world. That's just going to use this infinite energy of frequency. You guys haven't seen nothing yet having to do with quantum fields of energy that's going to heal humans.
So scientists just used AI to reverse aging in human cells, and they achieved a 50x better efficiency than the original Nobel Prize winning method. OpenAI partnered with a longevity startup called RetroBio to redesign the Yamanaka factors. These are 4 proteins discovered in 2012 that can reprogram adult cells back to youthful stem cells.
A company called Revel Pharmaceuticals just treated 75-year-old skin in a dish with their AI-engineered enzyme and functionally turned it into 30-year-old skin. That's weird, because I literally just saw one of the most respected longevity scientists, Matt Kaberlein, say,
the first myth is that we're close to solving aging. We're not close to solving aging. The second myth is that biological aging is reversible. It's not reversible.
Awkward. Matt said this just days before Rebel announced their results, and guess who was sitting across the table biting his tongue? Aubrey de Grey, the man who's spent 25 years insisting the way to beat aging is to physically repair that exact damage. And the company Revel that just pulled it off was spun out of CENS. That's a longevity foundation Aubrey co-founded. He called it a huge breakthrough in arguably the single most neglected aspect of aging, extracellular matrix damage.
Versus the age of their cells. Shout out science. Scientists just figured out how to reverse aging with AI, and this is a massive breakthrough. We can now reprogram any human cell back to age 20. Heart cells, skin cells, brain cells, all reset to their biological prime. And here's the wildest part. The technology to do this has existed since 2012. It won the Nobel Prize. But the real breakthrough wasn't possible until this year, when they supercharged it with AI.